Can you imagine being kidnapped, taken from your native country, and then put on display like a wild animal, all because of the shape of your body? After performing some research on Sartia Bartman, I found some information that I thought I'd share with you all today. Sartia Bartman was a woman whose life was painstaking, very short, and then exploited for all because of her body. And then even after her death for 187 years. Sartia Bartman, also known as Sarah Bartman, was an African woman of Khoikhoi or Khoisan descent who, according to Antoine Lukongo of the New African and Mary Russell of Irish Times, was born in either 1789 or 1790 in the Eastern Cape. Later, after being born, she was taken from her home and employed by a Dutch farmer by the name of Peter Cesar as a maid wet nurse. While being a maid wet nurse for Peter Cesar, she was later kidnapped and brought to London and then Paris and displayed for her physical attributes. She was kidnapped by her employer's brother, Hendrik, and his friend, Alexander Dunlop, which was a naval doctor, and considered themselves to be impresarios. Also, according to Antoine Lukongo of the New African, she was showcased as a freak because of her behind at 225 Piccadilly, at Haymarket and Bartholomew Fair, before being sold after slavery was abolished to a sideshow owner in 1814. She was given the name Hottentot Venus as a show name, paraded around on a 2-foot stage, being led by a keeper like a wild animal, and given orders as to when to sit, when to stand, and when to move. Abolitionists found out about this and took up her cause, but were quickly ruled against, and she did not gain freedom and was known as a black sexual icon. After being taken to Paris, she was displayed in public and both private shows naked, showcasing her behind and genitalia. She was also sold to a traveling circus for wild animals and paraded then at high society balls, wearing only feathers as an exotic savage. After more exploitation, she died around the age of 26 and was then dissected and displayed for another almost 200 years in a French museum. Some sources say she died at 25, some at 26. Some sources, like Mary Russell from the Irish Times, say she died from illness due to alcoholism and prostitution. Other sources, like Antoine Lukongo of the New African, say that she died after experimentation from Geoffroy St. Hilaire, Henri de Blainville, Baron Georges Cuvier, all to find proof that black women were more primitive and more sexually passionate than white women. After her death, she was dissected, put into formaldehyde jars, and displayed in a French museum for 187 years before a bill was brought forward and sponsored by the French government to return her to Africa, which is her native home. All after being petitioned by Nelson Mandela. 187 years after being displayed, she was returned home to Africa and by the president at the time, Thabo Mbeki, and buried on a hilltop. In conclusion, Sartia Bartman, also known as Sarah Bartman, lived a very painstaking, short life riddled with exploitation of her body that lasted over 187 years. She endured kidnapping, being taken to foreign lands against her will, and displayed like a wild animal. And then, with no regard for her modesty or regard for her life, and not even given dignity in her death that she should have received in her life. She only gained that dignity in her death 187 years after she was dead.